Oh, this one. Well, this one. Then I'm just going to clap for it. Sing.
So anyway, you're supposed to just have a joint and start it again.
Yeah, we had to do it again.
Yeah, let me just find my goodies here quickly. So much things going on. Alright. Amazing. Amazing. Cool. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us once again. We're very honored and privileged to be here today. It's Cannabis Cup time in Plettenberg Bay again. We got one of the legends sitting here with us, Jeremy Acton. Thank you for coming on. Sure. and that everybody in the cannabis space knows the extent that you guys went to with the Concord ruling and everything like that. And from my side and from the Cannabis Club, from the CannaClub side, I just would like to say massive respect to you guys.
Thanks. Big thank you. Thank you for what you've meant to the South African.
It was forced on me. It wasn't like I chose to go out and do it. The cops just arrived at my place one day and arrested me for a tablespoon of weed. They could have gotten like a whole lot more quantities, but they took me in and made me a 50 Rand fine. And I refused to pay the 50 Rand fine. I said, this is my rights, and I read a statement to the court, and it just opened the can of worms, and slowly but surely that we were heading towards the High Court. Okay, and that's when I met up with Russ Gareth Prince, who also had been charged in a totally different situation, and met up with a Dagga couple of Gauteng who were kind of leading the way. And they were the first people to get the first stay of prosecution in order to go to the Concord.
Jules and Myrtle, they were the first to get the stay of prosecution.
And then it allowed us to say, hey, but you gave it to them, so we wanted to. And so we got a whole lot of stays of prosecution while the Constitutional Court case was going on.
Okay.
So it was a lot of activism happening at the time.
It was a massive step, but it was a huge thing. And I can just imagine the crowd and the atmosphere that you must have had when you were there and they gave that judgment.
Yes, it first was in the Western Cape where we got this right to private use at home. It was only about at home. But we had said, like, we want to be part of society, and if somebody's smoking a cigarette in the pub, then we want to smoke our cannabis too. It's about integration with society.
The alcohol versus weed argument is always...
Yeah, but it was always going to be only about your privacy. Take your drugs and go home and stay private and stay away. Okay, go away. And that's how I felt about the Western Cape judgment. And so I appealed against this issue where at home only is not about my privacy. I have privacy in my pockets. I don't expect people to say, oh, you're walking through a public space. I have a right to check through your pockets about whether you got weed or not. And so the appeal of that led to the Concord saying private space, private body space, private personal belongings like a rucksack or a car, for example. And certain parts of the country agree with that. Like the police in some areas will search your car and consider you to be a troublemaker if you have private cannabis in your car.
And that's still happening today?
Yes, that's still happening. Attitudes sometimes haven't changed, but others will say, oh, no problem, we're not going to bother with that. That's cool. So something changed.
Yes.
So just for the viewers as well, like just so we don't get confused, the Western Cape ruling and the Concord ruling are two separate things that led up to the...
So what happened there, we first did this in the Western Cape. The Constitutional Court sitting first gets done in a High Court, and you have 3 judges, and they give a judgment. And then there's a right to appeal by the state. The state appealed against that judgment, and we cross-appealed. We get a right to cross-appeal. And so I cross-appealed about this issue of carrying my personal weed through a public space and my sovereignty of my personal space.
Right.
And so then it went up to the Constitutional Court directly. The state wanted it to go to the Constitutional Court direct instead of to the Supreme Court of Appeal. But I think the state was trying to get this whole fiasco over as fast as they could.
Yeah, they didn't really want it to be
They
noticed.
didn't want us to win something in the Supreme Court of Appeal and then again in the Concords. They just wanted this to go away. And so they gave it to us on privacy. We had claimed our rights to the nutritional value of the food from the hemp cannabis seed and all of those things. They just said, oh no, it's a drug. You may privately use it. Now go away.
They still treat it as a drug.
It was still judged as a drug. They didn't want to acknowledge anything about industrial use.
Yeah.
They didn't want to acknowledge anything about the nutritional value of cannabis seed.
Yes.
Because that would have pointed out to the state that you're actively encouraging poverty and hunger. So the framework of it's a drug only was the way that judgment was given to us.
So are you still referring to the Concord
Yes.
judgment? Okay,
Yes.
so you would say it wasn't really a major victory.
It was
in
a
that sense.
victory in terms of it gave us a space to have cannabis and it create a culture and our interactions and our cannabis clubs and our cannabis cups and that. So something really did change, and you didn't have to have total paranoia just by lighting up a tiny joint. Now you can have all your weed around you and you can light up your joint.
Growing for months and worrying about guys coming.
That fear is gone.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
so
taking
So
from
it
what,
was-
sorry,
Yeah.
taking from what you're saying, like, would you say there is space for improvement on the bill currently?
we have to get to the fact that we are farming this on a mega scale for the seed and for the sticks. This smoke is sorted out, right? Okay, but the poverty and the hunger and the unemployment and all of those issues that we're actually facing is the plant can provide there in those aspects, and we should be farming cannabis right across the Free State from one end to the other and sending the sticks to Sasol to make cheaper petrol and the hemp seed for nutrition of humans and livestock and bring the price of those things down in society.
Yes.
So that's it. And hemp fibers for manufacturing textiles, carbon fiber technology.
And do you think they didn't have everything right the first time? There was still, in 2018 when the whole Concord ruling happened and things, there were many things that weren't right. It was a necessary step that had to happen. But do you think maybe their opinion have changed on it now? Like sitting 4 years down the line?
That's a good question.
Yes. Well, there is this cannabis master plan process the state is supposed to be going through, but nobody's publicly permitted to participate in it. Okay. The Cannabis for Private Purposes bill started out as the state's task to create a bill regulating our private cannabis use, and it was a dog's breakfast.
Yeah.
Okay, because it presumed that it may now dictate to our private decisions about how much weed do we need, and stupid things like 6 plants or 8 plants per person.
How can you say that?
And no, that's like saying you may privately decide have cannabis, but we're going to tell you how much cannabis you may privately have. And I absolutely cannot accept it. They gave it to us in the Section 14 privacy concept. Therefore, it's out of state hands from now on in my personal use. I will not admit police to my private cannabis lifestyle.
If you're talking oils and extracts, you need a lot of cannabis.
We need a lot of cannabis. And another
make
thing,
it happen, you know?
the judgment didn't say smoking only or narcotic use or whatever they want to call it.
However you want to
it
use
was
Personal use.
private adult consumption. Private adult consumption for me is how much cannabis seed do I need to eat every day? I need maybe half a kilogram. Times 365 days.
Yeah.
That's about 180 kilograms of hemp seeds. Okay? So I need that amount of plants just for my nutritional requirements. Plus the obviously I would grow seed plants which also gave me my smoke at the same time as the seed. You can get a lot out of one crop. And I would but that's how much I need. I need enough to grow. Maybe I need 50 meters by 50 meters, 2,500 square meters, a quarter of a hectare for my personal cannabis needs.
Yeah.
And anything less than that is less than what I need. You know?
Would you say there's space for rural growers in the current legislation?
I think rural growers have to suddenly adapt to the fact that everybody's got their own smoke in their own grow, outdoor or indoor, doesn't matter, and that the market is saturated, and that the indigenous Dagga cannabis sativa that we have, the high THC sativa strain, sativa, is not what the market wants for the smoking purposes. Yes, you can get oil out of it, but because it has such tiny little trichomes, you only get a yield of about 5 to 6% on your efforts.
You're comparing that with the new international strains.
Yes, when you're getting like 16% for your efforts.
Yes.
Okay, but it's fantastic oil when you have made that.
Yeah.
And I think cannabis sativa of the rural growers is the hemp of the future. We must go towards growing that as the biomass, the sticks, the fibers. It's already acclimatized to South African weather and heat and UV and everything. And we must select for bigger seeds and try and incorporate those seeds as our nutritional solution in South Africa.
Yes.
A few years of proper selection will increase the size of the seeds radically. And let's just everybody grow it for mega scale biomass. In other words, there's a price on the sticks that they can make money from the sticks.
Yeah.
And learn how to do the extraction of the oil.
And you say sorry, no.
Yeah. And also learn how to extract the oil and process the seed into products.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Another one that we've been hearing quite a lot of is that there's a lot of clubs that would love to have Pondo weed on their shelves, and they would love to have the Russian weed on their shelves, but they simply can't do it legally. There's no legal way for them to, because they're not part of the club or they're not part of the growers contracts or whatever.
Leads us to our next question, like what legal space is there at the moment for private clubs? We've seen a lot of clubs emerge in South Africa since 2018. What space is there for them at the moment, and how do you predict that? Like,
I think the private club approach is brilliant because it makes an adult person approach a group of people who contain cannabis in their grouping to say, I wish to contract with you to participate in your culture and have cannabis and get access to cannabis
in a safe and
consensual environment. You know, we have this government that says, oh, you can't do this, you can't sell weed. But if I am privately transacting with another adult who is informed and it is our private contract, then nobody tells me he can't sell me weed.
Yeah.
Because and why is it a crime? The state is the third party to this private contract. And and we do that under the grounds of our cultural connection. Okay, Section 33 cultural
the freedom
connection.
of association,
yes,
don't we?
and we do. And if it's in a private context, then it still applies.
Yes.
But it's up to us to say to those newcomers, if you enter into our group, when you buy the ticket at the door, it says on this, for example, you want to enter a cannabis market, pop-up market, weed everywhere, joints in bottles, dab rigs going, everything's fine.
Green Day.
Okay, like imagine this is happening in Cape Town already.
Yeah.
You would enter on the ground floor, paying a small fee to enter. On your ticket, you are informed that you're entering a cannabis zone, and if you do not agree with cannabis, then please leave. Okay. And when you buy that, if you're a cop going into that and you buy that to get in, sorry, bro, that's your contract with us.
Yeah.
And when you go up the steps out of the general food zone and the cosmetics with cannabis in, and the soaps and things, where you so that's public non-THC zone. Then you go up steps. When you step up those steps, you once again into a private space where cannabis is freely available, and people are selling plants, seeds, joints, dabs, you name it. And then from there on, you go up to a private roof space to smoke your cannabis. And my point of view regarding children in this thing is, we as a culture have children. We are raising our children in our culture. Those who disapprove of our culture, fine, good for you. But our children are free to move through the entire cannabis space under our personal adult parental supervision. So if I'm going up to go sit upside there with a smoke and it's fresh air, I believe that my child should feel comfortable in being with mom or dad in that situation as well.
It's a very tricky topic, because I think a lot of parents feel that way, but it's not really the parents that have the problem with it. It's more the
broader
people
society
surrounding that seem to intervene in the parenting, and so it's still a tricky topic, but it is a part of the destigmatization.
The stigma seems to be falling away at a very rapid pace. Like, do you think the response from SAPS side, do you think that has improved since the Concord ruling?
I think that the SAPS has really calmed down a lot.
Yes.
Okay. And there's no proactive policing for cannabis, but there are certain sectors where I think indoor grows are being specially targeted for that equipment to be disappeared into the asset forfeiture sector, and I don't know where it goes. And I am also concerned that police cannabis that used to be confiscated, like say they're stopping and searching people on a weekend, and they get a whole lot of people into the cells for small amounts of cannabis. And that cannabis disappears into the prisons. And there's literally a channel from holding cells in police stations to supplying cannabis and cell phones and cash and mandrakes into the prisons. Okay, I saw that for myself. When I got arrested once in the police station, I was doing a missing persons report. A friend of mine had disappeared. They said, aren't you so-and-so from the Dagga Party? I said, yes. He said, okay, put your hands on the counter, we're searching you here right now. And they found an enchi, a little piece, okay? So I spent that weekend in that holding cell.
What?
And I saw a gang member come in with all the tattoos and stuff. And the night before we went to the jail, to the magistrates court, the community police forum brought mandrakes into the holding cells at 3 o'clock in the morning and left it with this gang member.
Confiscated mandrakes.
Oh, it was just like the channel. This police station was the channel to the Goodwood prison for stuff to go into the Goodwood prison. And so this gangster had everybody's cell phones, cash, mandrakes, weed, and he was just remanded in custody to Goodwood, but he was the one who was never searched. So he would walk in to go do the job and take the stuff in through this police station.
Yeah. Man, so, there's a lot of bad cops out there.
There's a lot
of good cops out there as well.
So the criminal issue is the two sides of the coin are both a problem in many ways.
Yes.
And
there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
You know?
But they lost a lot of weed when the legalization happened.
Yes.
Because now they couldn't touch people, and so other.
There's a supply line.
But to get back to that question, yeah, I would agree with you. And you, Harry, I think the police's response has been a lot better. When was the last raid at the CannaClub in 2018? I think, eh?
Yeah, it was just before the Concord ruling.
Okay.
A couple of months before that.
And our visits after that was quite successful.
After that, they came through twice already. Actually, remember Leon got arrested last year on the farm.
Yes, so
when he sent away the samples for the judges.
Yes.
But they came back, the whole SIU unit, 6 vans, pull in there on the farm. They rock up with gear. They fully weaponized, and they just walk into the CannaClub. No, they're just here for a cup of coffee. We like sit them all down and like, okay, give them their cup of coffee, and they sat for 20 minutes and they left, and we were all like, what the hell is going on? But no problem. They left with no issues.
On that one of Leon, that was because of a big problem at the moment in South Africa is the transport of cannabis.
Yes.
And I think we are all waiting for the Haze Club case in that regard. You know, do you have any insight on what's happening there, or your predictions from what's going to come out of that?
Okay, so as far as I know, the Haze Club was like a mostly indoor growing, collective growing operation, where people paid for the use of space and facilities to grow cannabis. And I think that that's also very cool, because collective action in a private contract is still within the concept of private space. And I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win their rights for clubs and growing clubs to operate in a way that still is within the bounds of no transactions.
Well, if they do that, they'll open up transporting for basically everybody else, because they in their model they deliver to people's houses.
Yes.
Which is the one thing that's still unknown, but hopefully it goes their way. I'm seriously putting energy into it and just saying.
You see, a lot of the couriers have this private company policy. Okay, we do not transport these things, and by putting that cannabis on the list there, they do kind of block you from them having to be involved in transporting your cannabis. And that's so transport, even though it's a private parcel, just has always been at your own risk. And like, never let it sit in a depot over a weekend. Post on Monday and Tuesday. Make sure it gets there by Friday, and you're still taking a chance.
Yeah, but if we could get a more clear legal, how can I say, if we've got
a framework,
yes.
It's proper regulations and how I'm supposed to transport.
We're allowed to do this, we're not allowed to do that.
You package it like this, you send it to this company, maybe they create a new transporting company that they specifically there for that.
Well, it's like in Cape Town, there's a thing called Uber Zol, and you can literally place an order and somebody will Uber you your Zol. Brilliant. And so I think the cannabis people must be the transporters. And if people in Plet all want to ship something to Cape Town, then a collective putting together the money and the vehicle and see what happens.
So there's a big space in the market in that sense for some logistics company to open like a cannabis transportation.
I think so, and you could stick huge stickers with weed plants and say this is a private cannabis zone as you drive through the.
Like Dave Bucky, I love Dagga.
Dave Bucky, that's a perfect, perfect one.
Yeah, private cannabis zone. Like, do not, no under 18s. and because how do you define your private space? That's a very interesting exercise in law. Okay, and
where do you put the boundaries on it?
No entry. And right of admission reserved. Those kind of things.
And the private clubs argue that not everybody has the ability and means to cultivate their own cannabis. So doing that in a collective way where you can, how can I say, contract those services to someone else to cultivate the plant for you, I can't see that that falls within all our constitutional rights. I can't see that as a criminal offence.
Freedom of association, and it's still a private contract. Why does that contract suddenly allow the state to stick its nose into it? Okay. Another thing, just to make an example, boxing as a sport is an accepted thing when people pay to go in through a door
To murder each other.
and watch two people assault each other. That same activity outside would be a crime, okay, and public disorder. But when it goes through a door into a private space where everyone is a consenting adult who goes in there and it's allowed. Now, in the same way, cannabis being sold literally on the street might be not cool, but when you go into this private space, club, coffee bar, membership space,
Consent.
You've got your consent, yeah.
Dagga festival, whatever you call it, then that's created a private space. You want to enter, you buy a ticket, you enter on contract with that privacy.
I love the way you put it with the boxing matches.
So well, let's just get on with mass production. That's really where it's got to go. But another thing is, we the activists led the way for the state to follow. They're still following. They're stuffing around actually. But we, the farmers, must go for the mega-scale industrial seed production and manufacturing and let them catch up on that too.
Yeah.
So your private adult consumption, grow for your private industrial cannabis needs.
Industrial cannabis.
Yeah, and your private hemp for nutrition, cannabis seed for nutrition needs. Okay. People are hungry, even if you give that stuff away to somebody else.
That's still
And we
working.
mill it and bake with it is what we should
Let's
do.
make as many products as we possibly can out of it.
Yeah.
We're just getting started. We've had 4 years to play. Give us
Yes.
10. Let's see what we can do.
I think we have to do it. We have to go mega scale within the next 5 years because our economy is busy just going down and down and down. We kind of globally are running out of energy, resources, metals, and everything. And we need to unlock cannabis as the resource that literally saves us
Saves
from
the world,
from
saves the
a
planet.
massive
Wow.
crash.
Give me goosebumps.
So, yeah, one of our questions we had there for you is like, how do you feel cannabis can contribute towards
The
the
future
economy,
of-
an economic crisis?
Well, I mean, if you imagine a cannabis plant standing next to you right here, even at the top, you've got the hemp seed, the cannabis seed for nutrition. You've also got the THC and the cannabinoids for tourism. Okay, so there's economic tourism, tours through private clubs, a network, like do a garden route tour through a network of private clubs, for example, book early, you know. So there's the seed and there's the THC and the cannabinoids for health and medicine right at the top. Then you got the stick. The stick's got the fibers in it. That could be extracted and go towards manufacturing of all types. And then the inside of the sticks is the cellulose kind of stuff, which can be cracked into plastics, petrol, any solvent you wish for, paper and paper pulp.
You can build houses and buildings with that.
And we can grow enough to actually literally grow a room on our house every year. That's also private adult consumption.
But for that we'll have to use like hemp is now a new thing coming up, and we've got all these people cultivating these beautiful flowers and so on. Is cross-pollination a thing that we have to be careful for, so that the
So I firstly totally reject the idea of a licensed hemp industry where seeds are brought in by the state and only some people get them. And it's Ukrainian or European hemp seed which goes to flower too soon in South Africa. Okay, so we must turn to the local Intsango, the Dagga, the satiras of the rural
land
areas.
races.
Our land races is perfect to be hemp.
yes.
Okay. Yes, it's got THC in it, but why are we so friskrick about THC? We're all high already. So we just got to polish that seed properly through the correct processing, and there is our cannabis seed. We need to select for larger seed in the South African strains. I do believe maybe we can mix some other strains that make bigger heads, just to make a better product in terms of more seed.
Flower.
More seed,
Literally more
okay.
seed. And the other
Because you're
stuff.
talking specifically about hemp now.
Yeah, well, for cannabis seed, and I don't really like the word hemp
Okay.
because it does sort of denote the industrial and nutritional side of things, but we mustn't think that we now need to go find low THC cannabis to have those things. High THC cannabis provides
Can
those
already
things.
Can also create.
Let's grow cannabis with everything. Big seeds, massive amounts of THC and CBD and all of those things.
Nice fiber.
Very high sticks, high growth, maximum water efficiency, and get as much as we can out of one growing seed from the top to the bottom.
It really can be a win-win-win
All the way down.
Absolutely. It can
And-
trickle through the entire economy.
One other thing is the cheaper petrol. If you grow for seed, I've got a document from a book called Cannabis, the Facts, Human Rights and the Law, which has got a chapter in it called the Cannabis Biomass Energy Equation, where they say if you grow cannabis for the seed, if you take 10% of the value of that cash crop, you can then use that money to process the sticks into free petrol. Free petrol. Does that ring a bell?
Biofuel.
No, petrol is extremely
So,
expensive.
so cannabis allows us to literally create free petrol.
And that's a petrol that you can just literally put in any car.
Yeah,
Like it's not a
but yeah.
vegetable oil type
No,
thing.
it would generally be a methanol or an ethanol, depending on how you process it.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
That's
And that's
amazing.
it.
Yeah.
And so the seed crop pays for the production of the petrol.
Yeah.
And still leaves you enough to make a profit in the market.
In the market.
The rest of the seed.
It leaves that,
So
that margin.
There's still massive potential in that sense of all this untapped.
Unexplored.
Yeah.
I think it's also being kept
it's being
under wraps
resisted.
because there's big
One of the
companies that don't want
reasons,
you.
one of the reasons why they don't want us to have hemp seed for the people is because it really messes with this corporate chemical shitstorm, GMO soya that they've pushed into poor people.
Yeah.
Okay, so we wouldn't. Hemp seed beats soya flat in terms of cost of production of the so much.
If you look at its protein profile as well.
They are kind of pretty much on a par depending on the story, but soya requires a lot of toxic processing to get rid of the trypsin inhibitor in the soya, whereas in other words, we can't digest it unless it's chemically treated.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
First step
So,
of digestion done for you.
Whereas hemp seed can be absorbed by even people with HIV and TB.
Naturally, no chemical.
It's the one seed that gives people body weight in those horrible illnesses. Okay. So cannabis seed is kind of like really where the market should go.
Okay.
Another one of the magical things that still need to happen.
That is
the seed.
So just do it, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just do
Just
it.
plant all your stuff. Okay.
And your crystal ball, what's your crystal ball telling you about the future for South Africa and cannabis?
It's the only thing that's going to really save this economy.
Yes.
It's the only thing that really allows everybody to participate equally, but that would need some kind of land access program which allows black, brown, white, rural and urban to get some kind of access to land. And I think every family should be farming at least 2,500 square meters of cannabis. A family of 4 should have a hectare of land for all their needs with 2,500 square meters towards cannabis, and that's a model for sustainability. Anything less than that, you're probably a slave to the system. Okay. And I think we could all, as South Africans, young and old, look at each other in the eye and say, yes, we can do 1 hectare per family, or even if you're still living in a flat in Sea Point, in the urban jungle, you can still get a share in a hectare somewhere out there in the rural areas. We've got the data capabilities to do that.
It's springing up all over the place.
And that doesn't have to wait for the state either. We mustn't wait for the state for anything. We must render the state superfluous.
Good.
And we are
Thanks, Lee.
the citizens and the governance and the makers of the rules.
Yeah.
Even in the prohibition, we made the rules.
They try to stop it.
I love the way that Gareth Prince has put it in one of his interviews. The laws are there to serve us. We aren't there to serve the
them,
laws.
yes,
Yeah.
and the cannabis prohibition was always there to feed the prison system, and especially in America, it was literally how they were going to keep their prisons full for the profit of those who tender in the prison market.
So now everyone needs cannabis.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all got to come.
Cannabis has been abused in different ways, different things that you don't even think about.
Sacrilege, actually.
Yeah.
Now, to bring it back to like a more positive thing, you have a positive message you would like to throw out there for the viewers?
Yes, I would. Thanks. I would like to encourage everyone to take the industrial and nutritional aspects very seriously, and also to continue to develop your businesses and to reach out into your community, to create that cannabis community that you know in your area. So many times we have a large network right across the country, but we don't know the smokers in our own suburb.
Yes.
And so to get to know those people and build something there, I think is really where it can make a positive difference for
Localized communities.
Yeah, and reduce things like crime, because we now have more cooperation. We now more are using cannabis to alleviate our hunger and our poverty and the other issues. So and stand up for cannabis. Don't let them in the front door without a warrant. Claim your rights, know your rights. And so forward to the cannabis culture in South Africa.
Amazing.
Lovely.
Well,
Thank you
Jeremy
so much,
Acton,
Tim.
once again, just thank you very much for doing this. The event is awesome and looking perfect. Anybody that's in this area must please come and pull in.
Yeah.
It really is a spectacle, and the support goes a long way.
Yes.
And the Dagga Party, just for a final word, can
Let's
we
get some
want
breakdown on
to can I say encourage our viewers to support the Dagga Party as well?
Yeah, sure. So in my personal life, trying to like mobilize politically as well. There's always been a lack of resources. But with Chris J, who I think you've interviewed already, he, with his help, the membership management structures online is the ongoing challenge, and then I think getting these groups on the ground is more important than winning councils or parliament. We can't win councils or parliament if we don't have those functioning groups on the ground.
Yeah,
and they can be ward-based. You know, like let's use the map of the wards and create groups like that.
Okay.
Excuse me. And only when that starts to happen and it spreads is there a structure that can raise the funds and be the candidates. You know, people say, "Oh, I'll vote for you." It's not about me. It's about you. You being the candidate and you and your networks winning the seat. Okay? And I'm just the admin guy who kind of liaises with the IEC with some people's help to and registering here and online work and stuff. But it has to be about the people.
100%.
And young people are generally disillusioned with politics and don't register to vote. And if we want to win a seat or council, let's imagine the Plet area is run by the people who smoke cannabis.
Good.
It's very possible, but there's such a rigid mindset out there and old affiliations, and you've got to have the business plan. We've talked the business plan. It's about sharing the business plan that cannabis can be and creating the structures and turning it into political mobilization. And then the huge doors open in terms of making positive changes.
Basically, sorry, all we want to ask is like, for our viewers, in what way can they support the Dagga Party? Is there anything they can do from their side to contribute towards your venture? Or?
At the moment, we have a membership application space on our website, and the only difficulty at the moment is for us to acknowledge and reply
Okay.
automatically.
I see. It's
Okay,
not
that's
automated.
busy being that will happen. But so that is a space where we can see you and slowly link, and also then we link you up to other people who we know who have joined from that
The same
area.
area,
We can
okay.
sort of say, okay, here's a list of people who are all in the same ward. Now, can we help you guys meet each other? And in some cases, you've got to be careful about that, because the one member application is from this gang and the other member application is from this gang, and we have either a potential problem or we have a possibility of peace in that town, in that area, which is great. And so how we find each other is the key thing, and we can build it up and be invisible and build the groups and be invisible, and then whoop, one day
Here we are.
it's
Jeremy Acton is
suddenly it
running for
happened.
president.
You know, presidents only arise out of a majority of candidates. That's the thing. Don't look at this presidential thing that they try and sell.
Yeah.
It's got to be, you got to have a majority of candidates in the assembly before anyone is even considered to be a president. And that would then be a democratic
And the
process
website,
then.
the website that people can find you on, is that the Dagga Party?
Dagga Party, daggaparty.co.za, or I think it's .org.za as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
.co.za is up and
All right.
Lovely.
Perfect stuff.
That's almost everything.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you
powerful,
very
and
much.
we do appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Goes a
Thank
long
you.
way for us.
Yeah.
So you've done